So here, the real missing skill is the problem is not always that we have read too little or we are having a limited knowledge, but we are not processing the question as per an administrator processes a file. That is actually understanding the real issue behind the cause and decoding the question and arriving at the most defensive answer. That's a real problem. So, a trained aspirant will definitely ask what the claim is actually about and on what basis the claim is made and within what boundary limits the claim is being made and what are the consequences if we approve that claim and how can we scrutinize after approving that claim. This is what an actually trained mind asks about each and every question, and we'll be understanding this based on the previous year UPSC questions. So before that, we should understand and we should keep in mind that UPSC is not only testing the student knowledge, it is testing a disciplined decision workflow, because try to understand a simple thing that it is humanly impossible to gain unlimited knowledge, but with a kind of limited knowledge, if we are in a position to take proper decisions with a proper structured workflow in decoding the questions and applying our administrative mind logic, we'll be arriving at the most defensive answer with the minimum knowledge what we have. That is what we'll be trying in the later part of this class. So the kind of administrative workflow what an administrator actually follows in the administration process is this, and we'll be decoding each and every step. Suppose a district administrator receives a proposal to remove a roadside settlement for a highway expansion, and this is the beginning of an actual workflow. However, at first glance the file may look simple and it may contain the issues like the public infrastructure law and livelihood, rehabilitation, legality and urgency. Along with that, there will be a political pressure to act upon. However, there is the necessity to ensure the citizens' dignity who have to be relocated, and at the same time the media will be scrutinizing the decisions taken by the administration, and the administration have to ask himself under which constitutional restraints and the limits he have to take decisions so that the citizens' rights are protected. At the same time, the developmental activities what the government has proposed and undertaking are not halted. So this is an administrative accountability decision making. For this, he'll follow this logical workflow. First, he will receive a file to analyze and evacuate this settlement just beside the highway to ensure the expansion of the highway, right? After he receives the information, he'll first verify if at all the settlements beside the highway are illegal encroachments, or since how many years the people are living there and what kind of livelihood made the people settle there and what kind of legal status each and every encroachment is having, or the each and every kind of settlement is having. Is everything we have to look it in total, or we have to identify a particular houses which are having an illegal encroachment? So this is how the verification begins. This is a highway and the people are living there. Who are the stakeholders here? The people living in there. So the people there, are they the vulnerable groups, that is who are living on the bare minimum income to for the sustenance, and is there any rehabilitation promise made to them before the project has been approved by the government, and what is the status of the project for the development purpose, and what kind of law that should govern an administrator in evacuation of these people, and what kind of documents are available with the highway authorities who are able to build the road and the people settling in there. This verification of facts is very important, because this begins the first step of a decision making. Exactly, in UPSC prelims questions, whenever a UPSC gives a fact or a statement, we have to verify if it is correct or not. That is where our actual decision making process begins. When this step is wrong, and the file is read in a wrong language and the wrong verbal claims, and under pressure we are in urgency to take a decision with improper verification of the facts, entire decision system collapses. So first thing what an administrator does is verifying it. After that, he'll define the real issue behind expansion project of a highway. It may be development versus displacement, and legality versus humanitarian issues, the public project and due process, and encroachment versus livelihood dependency. All these things have to be verified by the administrator in person, so that next process of decision making will be very clear. So after having a clear understanding about the project, he will classify the things based on land law issue, or what he have to consider for the rehabilitation and welfare of the people there, and what if the people settled there are not willing to leave the place, and it may arise a law and order issue, and within what constitutional rights the administrator should act, and what are the constitutional rights of the people living in there have to be protected, because development itself is not only the purpose of the government, it is also responsible for ensuring the protection of the rights of the citizens. At the same time, it have to undertake the development project. So after understanding this, he will interpret that what law does allow him to act in certain way, after verifying the facts and interpreting it, and what kind of procedure he need to follow, and the kind of fairness in procedure what he should undertake in resolution of the issue. Does any shortcut exist for ensuring the public interest, and how to avoid the scrutiny in the future, like im- improper decision making will be scrutinized definitely in the future. So he have to be aware of all these things and compare the routes available for him. For example, like immediate forceful clearance or notice with verification and the face removal, and doing a survey, and also rehabilitating the vulnerable people with a proper identification, and ensuring a peaceful rehabilitation process, and ensuring the law and order stability. However, he he may be having few options, but he have to choose the most appropriate option available for him. He have to compare all the routes available in front of him to before arriving at a decision. So he'll compare the decisions what he can take, and he have to be aware of the limitations what exist in undertaking certain decisions. That is, the decisions he take have to abide by the law of the land, and he have to act within the limits, and he should follow a mandatory decision making process with a minimal discretion, and ensuring the rules are followed. At the same time, he have to be in a position to protect the rights of the citizens who are living in there. At the same time, he have to ensure the development process to continue without any delay. And doing all this, he have to maintain stability in the law and order and take a proper decision. This is the kind of work pressure what an administrator faces in the real life, and he will trace all the consequences for the decisions what he take. There might be a litigations, or there might be a media backlash, and the citizens or the families who are affected there might be harmed, and they have to be rehabilitated properly. They may lose trust in the government. At the same time, they have to maintain the proper trust in the government, and with all these, actual project may be stalled or delayed, which delays the development of the nation. So after understanding and verifying the facts, he need to assess the risk involved in his decision, and later he have to prioritize the things what are in front of him. That is, after verifying the facts, he have to issue a proper notices to the people who are living in there, and he have to identify the vulnerable groups living in there and ensure the rehabilitation of those vulnerable group. In case if there is a law and order issue, he have to take support from the police to ensure the peace and stability of the region. At the same time, he have to maintain a proper documentation of everything. Now he will decide that after proper verification of facts and proper and following a proper decision making and abiding to the law of the land, he has taken a certain decision by also rehabilitating the vulnerable people who are living in there. Such things will avoid discretion and arbitrariness in his action. So this kind of decisions will be in a much better position to defend himself when the court intervenes or the media scrutinizes it, and ensuring the trust on the government is positioned in the people, and ensuring the public safety. If at all there is an audit, a proper scrutiny and an inquiry, he will be in a much better position to defend himself with this kind of decision making. Similarly, this is exactly what have to be translated in our understanding and decoding of the questions of the prelims examination. This is the administrative mindset what one should apply in decoding the question and arriving at a most appropriate decision. And now we will translate this into a UPSC prelims examination. Now here the main reason for low marks is not low knowledge, it is failure of administrative decision making process. So prelims is a decision making filter rather than a knowledge filter. Dangerous illusion among the aspirants is after reading and revising the topic for so many times, they'll relax that whatever the kind of question they get, they'll be in a position to answer. This is a dangerous illusion. But what, irrespective of the number of times they revise, that topic have to be converted to a most defensible answer in the question. For that, they require the administrative mindset. This kind of mindset have to be developed. So a close in familiarity in the UPSC prelims is not same as safe in decision making. So we need to arrive at a safe decision making rather than a close answer, right? So the students or the aspirants repeatedly loss in issue identification with the claim reading and the category separation, with the boundary detection of each and every question, and the final judgment under pressure. These are the things where the aspirants most often struggle in identifying a proper